They live among us. This is what they look like when viewed under an electron microscope. Monsters. However, these are familiar invaders, which have already left their marks on most of our skins. For several years, the tiger mosquito and the tick have been conquering new territories, particularly in Europe and the United States. How can we explain their proliferation, and how can we guard against it? Unlike other blood-sucking parasites, such as lice, tiger mosquitoes and ticks do not restrict themselves to human hosts. They can therefore spread diseases from animals to humans, transmitting dengue fever and Zika in the case of tiger mosquitoes, and Lyme disease in the case of ticks. The global scientific community is trying to understand the reasons for this proliferation in order to fight these invaders better. The epidemiologist Karine Chalvet-Monfray and her team are taking a close interest in ticks and the evolution of their population. These arachnids can consume up to 100 times their weight in blood, and it is estimated that between 10 and 20% of them carry Lyme disease. The scientist has developed a protocol to study the link between global warming and their proliferation. She sets up weather stations to measure the air and soil temperature before embarking upon a surprising collection technique. The scientist drags strips of cloth through the designated area to pick up ticks. 12 square yards of ground can yield as many as 100 individuals. These figures will then be linked to the temperatures recorded on the site in order to build mathematical models and maps, which are regularly updated. Below 7 degrees, ticks remain inactive, but the increase in the global temperature has enabled them to move into new territories.
We're starting to find ticks regularly during our winter collections and at areas of high altitude. We're also seeing tick populations where there were none before. For example, in the Pyrenees and the Alps. We're also seeing an increase at higher latitudes, with more and more ticks present in northern latitudes, such as Sweden and Canada.
Another phenomenon is also fueling the problem: urban development. This increases the number of interactions between humans and wildlife, which partly explains the spread of ticks in the population. In the animal world, this parasite attacks more than 300 species, mainly small rodents and deer, which researchers observe regularly thanks to infrared cameras placed on their study site. Unable to rid themselves of ticks and representing large reservoirs of blood, deer, who are threatened by fewer natural predators today, are favoring the rapid multiplication of ticks.
As a forester for 30 or 40 years, there's a real infestation of game, and I'm not at all surprised that it's also creating an infestation of ticks. It's essential that predators return to the forests. Wolves are coming back, and it's very important that they are allowed to do so, because they're the top predator, and they're the only way to keep game and wildlife at a normal level.
Our cities, which are increasingly close to nature and extensively vegetated, also benefit the tiger mosquito. Originally from Asia, it has colonized all the cities of southern Europe and gradually reached the north by hitching rides in our cars. Only the fertilized female feeds on blood. After biting someone infected with a disease, such as dengue fever, she can contaminate a healthy individual through the saliva that she injects under our skin, while awaiting the development of vaccines effective against the diseases transmitted by these mosquitoes. Man has deployed a whole arsenal of chemical molecules to eradicate them, but these bloodsuckers have learned to adapt to them, just as they have learned to defend themselves against certain plants.
To avoid being eaten, plants have developed a system that allows them to produce toxins. Conversely, insects that eat plants have also developed proteins that are able to biodegrade these toxins. Today, mosquitoes have inherited these proteins during their evolution, which they also use to degrade insecticide molecules. They're very effective and allow certain populations to resist very high doses of insecticides. In a recent study, it was found that in some parts of the world, it takes 500 times more insecticides to kill mosquitoes. Using insecticides in a massive and uncontrolled way favors selection for resistance. Most mosquitoes will die, but some will resist and will survive. These are the ones that'll give birth to the next generation, and this next generation will be a little more resistant to insecticides and so on. We're creating populations of mosquitoes that are increasingly resistant.
But faced with these ever-adapting mosquitoes, what is the alternative to insecticides? Researchers at the University of Montpellier have used radiation to sterilize male tiger mosquitoes, mating with females. These sterile males will have no offspring, a way of blocking the multiplication of these pests. This technique is being tested in the field in South America. Using drones, thousands of laboratory tiger mosquitoes are released into infected areas. In France, the government still has to authorize the release of these sterile males, and it will take more than them alone to rid us of tiger mosquitoes forever.
We can't dream of eradicating them from the surface of the Earth. That's a completely anthropocentric fantasy. We'll have to agree to live together to control this risk and find a way of managing it instead of trying to fight it.
Because of global warming and our changes in lifestyle, these invaders have probably not finished conquering the planet. In the absence of a miracle cure, humanity has no other choice but to adapt and carry on scratching.